Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering how much do you make from writing a book. The right book with the right message could generate six-figure revenue for you and your business. And the biggest revenue opportunities for the book probably won't come from the book itself. By the end of this video, you will learn the wide range of book revenue, the doors that could open from writing a book, and why I want you to rethink book sales. And stay tuned until the end of the video for a free opportunity. Let's dive in. When thinking about how much you can make from writing a book, the easy answer is it depends. It really depends. There's so many different ways to quantify success for a book and quantify revenue potential. So often we think about book sales as the be-all end-all in terms of revenue from a book. You know, someone pays a certain amount of money, they buy the book, and you get paid X amount. Maybe it's $3, $5, $7 from the cost of each book sold. It's an easy way to think about money. Book sales times amount equals the amount of revenue. I want you to think about that differently. I want you to stop thinking about book sales as the main driver of revenue for your book and start thinking about all the other things that can come about. I'm talking about speaking engagements. I'm talking about interview opportunities. I'm talking about lead generation. Your book can have such a big financial impact, and it has nothing to do with book sales. On this topic, I think of one of my clients, and we wrote a book together a couple years ago. It sold a couple hundred copies. It sold okay. It sold fine. Like it found an audience. It found a very small audience, but it found an audience, and the author was happy with the book. And one of the reasons that made them so happy about the book is because people keep reading it and then wanting to work with him as a client. And they will pay him tens of thousands of dollars each time they sign up. So this book generated more than $100,000 in revenue for this author, which is, it's an awesome thing to think about in terms of this long-term marketing aspect. This was something that we wrote 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and it's still being used to generate revenue and opportunities for his business. You know, there's long-term opportunities here. And there's long-term revenue potential, but it doesn't have anything to do at all with book sales. It has everything to do with what the author is doing with each of those book sales. It's about finding the exact right person to read your book and connecting your book with a sales funnel that has other things that they can buy. You know, it's about driving them into this lane, this pathway of growth and opportunity. You know, you have to write a good book first to want to get them to take that next step. But it's about connecting the dots so they have an easy pathway with you. They have that next step in play. If you think back to book sales and you think about a book that sold 1,000 copies at $5 each, that would be $5,000 in revenue for you. Or you can sell a $25,000 opportunity to a client that's 5 times that value, you know, with one book sold. So it's about rethinking book sales, and it's about making the most of each book sold instead of focusing on the number. One of the reasons why I think it's important not to focus on the number is because most books today don't sell that many copies. It's just a reality. Most books might sell only a couple hundred copies at most. Most books don't even crack 1,000 copies. So the idea that you're going to generate tons and tons of wealth from book sales that aren't happening, it's a misnomer. It's misguided. So I definitely want you to rethink that idea and focus instead on the opportunities and doors that can open from your book. You know, maybe that's speaking engagements. Maybe that's keynote addresses. Maybe that's a TEDx talk that, you know, promotes your business and promotes what you're doing, you know, and helps you put all these pieces together. You know, as a book writer, you're the go-to expert on a topic. If you've written a good book, you are the go-to expert. You are the thought leader. You are the person that people are seeking out. What are the opportunities around that? What are the opportunities for your career advancement? You know, if you write the next great business book, people are interested in hiring you. People are interested in having you speak to their companies. People are interested in taking your platform to a bigger place. So there's so many different opportunities that can happen, you know, if you line up this powerful book with the right message and keep the right mindset about what you're trying to accomplish and rethinking book sales, because there's so much opportunity out there. You know, money is money. You know, it's nice to have it, but there's other elements that come into play with book writing. You know, there's a sense of accomplishment. There's the reality that you did this hard thing. You did this super hard thing. There's this sense of inner success, inner resilience, inner drive, inner contentment. You know, being able to cross the boundary, cross the Rubicon, and put this book together and share it with the world is such a valuable experience. And a lot of times with the book, especially one that's so personal, there's this healing element that you finally own your story and you're, bringing it, sharing it, promoting it, really unlocking it. You get to move forward with clarity and purpose because you understand yourself now. There's a level of self-realization that now exists because you wrote this book. You are a different person. You are a changed person because of writing this book. And now you're sharing this message with other people in hopes of motivating them, inspiring them, helping them pass some of the issues that you faced. You're making other people better because of your story. You're using your story as this powerful thing to help other people unlock potential within themselves. It's such an awesome feeling. It's so great, to be able to say that you're doing that. So a lot of times we think about books and we think about outcomes as money and financial success, but there's something deeper at play here. There's this inner element that you can't put a price tag on. I think back to some of the book authors I've worked with, and the way I see their face after they're done with the book, and this weight has been lifted off of their shoulders. They did this thing. They accomplished the goal. And their life is different now. They're a different person. They're lighter, in terms of their emotions. They're excited. They're empowered. They're stepping into their purpose. And they are content in a new way. And being able to do that for yourself, being able to get your message out there, it's the greatest feeling. As you go down this road of writing a book, and as you publish it, and as you look for opportunities, keep an open mind. Opportunities with books exist all over the place, and a lot of times it's just a matter of figuring it out and unlocking it. And it's not always a perfect thing. It might take time to figure it out, and that's okay. What do you want to see accomplished from this book? What are the goals that you have? What are the expectations you have? Because book success looks different to different people. If Stephen King sold 5,000 copies of his book, that would be deemed a failure. If I sell 5,000 copies of my book, that's a success because I don't have the platform that Stephen King does. But what does success look like to you? And what does contentment look like to you? For some people, it's just a matter of publishing the book. They don't even care about publicly promoting it. Other people, they want to have bestseller lists and, accolades and attention and visibility. There's no wrong answer here, but it's important to know what you want, what your goals are, and what success looks like. It's important, too, to consider the money that you put into it, and what you want to get out. Sometimes when I work with authors as a ghostwriter, they will spend tens of thousands of dollars on the book writing. They will spend money on the editing, the production, the promotion side of it. They'll spend tens of thousands of dollars on their book. And that's okay. That's something they wanted to do. Other people don't want to spend that kind of money. They have a different kind of budget for bringing it forward, and maybe they can do a lot of things on their own. Whatever the case may be, it's so valuable to understand the terms that you're focused on. Understand the things that you want to accomplish and understand what success looks like. Because book success for one person is going to mean something different than book success for another person. Another thing to keep in mind is that different books on different topics have different outcomes in terms of revenue and in terms of public visibility. If you're writing a book about usage-based economics, that's going to have a different potential readership than a book about something more universal, some universal themes like layoffs and being in the workplace or finding happiness. Really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but by having a clear-cut perspective and being realistic about the market, about what people want in this space, is going to help you speak to a more universal message and speak to a wider audience. But it's important to find the topic that you care about and focus on that readership. Focus on your message. This isn't about just trying to broaden the audience to make it as big as possible. It's about reaching one person. Because again, one person could be the person that wants to move forward with you, that wants to work with you, that invites you to a speaking engagement. This is about one person, finding that exact one person that you want to read the book and that is going to be impacted, that it's going to transform their life to read it. You know, when I think about writing a book and I think about having an impact, I think about that one person. If my book can change one person's life, I mean, what's better than that? You know, really, money's nice, you know, influence is nice, but like being able to write a book that changes somebody's life, it's such an awesome feeling and it's such an awesome power. And, you know, I hope that you can stick with it to accomplish that and see that through for yourself too. If you want to learn more about how much do you make from writing a book, I definitely want you to watch another video I recorded. I'll link to it on the screen. It's called How to Start Writing a Book About Your Life. In that video, I talk about all the elements that you should focus on when beginning to write the book foundation work, tapping into your purpose, and moving forward with momentum in your book writing. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.